Welcome to Soccer Morning on NASN. Here's your host, Jason Davis.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome into Soccer Morning, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. World Cup week. It's World Cup week. Tell me you're not excited. Tell me you're not jazzed, geeked, hyped, whatever word you want to use. The World Cup starts Thursday. It's here. It's happening. It's now. This is the World Cup week. We are ready to go. I've got anthems loaded up in the machine from the USA and Italy and Bosnia and Portugal and Colombia, the ones I could do in the last 10 minutes before I started talking on the air today. We've got John Oliver talking about the World Cup and FIFA and perfectly expressing in a 13-minute segment that he did everything I've been trying to say on this show for the last year. We've been on the air more than a year now. For the last year, talking about the equation of how much you love the game and you love the World Cup versus how much you hate FIFA. How disgusted you are with everything that happens around this game. But first and foremost, and I thought about doing this at the end of the show, but I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way now. Because let's just put it all on the table, lay our cards down. I'm excited for the World Cup. I am excited to be here talking about the World Cup through hopefully the full World Cup. I don't see why anything would change between now and the final. But I think it's important to let you guys know that more than likely, the World Cup is going to be Soccer Morning's last hurrah. I mean, there's really not any other way to say it. And what basically what this comes down to is I'm going to stop. This is why I'm getting this out of the way now, because I don't want to ruin your World Cup. I'm going to commit to doing the World Cup. Hopefully all of the network things stay in place for us to do that. So we're working on that. And we don't want to surprise you. I'm not going to spring this on you. We're going to lay it out here. I'm going to stop asking you guys to help support the show at the website. Not even going to mention it. You guys all know it anyway. If you listen to this show now, you've heard me say it 1,000 times already. What we asked you to do to help support the show to keep us going. I'm going to stop. Really no point. Everybody who has committed and supported and contributed, I cannot thank you enough. And that has been the thing that has kept me going. I don't just mean, oh, help me pay my bills nonsense. I mean, you have helped me keep this going and Trevor keep this going because we know there are people out there who love this show and love that we talk soccer every single day from an American perspective. We cover the world's game. We're not limited to anything. We're going to do it all. We have had amazing guests. And again, everybody who has stepped up and contributed, thank you so much. I cannot possibly express our gratitude in a way that will fully express what we feel about what you've done for us. But this is it. We're done. We're going to stop asking. Okay? Because what's clear to us now, and remember, this is a two-man operation. Soccer Morning is two guys, me and Trevor. That's it. What's clear to us now is there's just not enough demand for this. And I don't mean from the listeners. You guys have been fantastic. And I think we do pretty well considering we're an underground show. This show is underground. We're not mainstream in any sense. We may be somewhat known in the little soccer bubble that we all live in. And again, we've had some fantastic guests who do exist in the mainstream who have been kind enough to come on this show. Love all of those guys. And girls. We've had some fantastic women on this show as well. But it's clear to me and it's clear to Trevor that the market for this doesn't exist yet. There's satellite radio. They're doing their thing. There's a couple of shows that may have some syndication. Most of the time, they're buying their own time. We're just not in a position to do that. But really, there's not a demand beyond you on that second level. The people who would help us keep this going instead of us having to ask the listeners directly. Sponsorship, etc. That just doesn't exist yet. We've talked to some people. We've danced around some things. Nearly came to some deals. I don't even know. We may even end up having one for the World Cup. And again, thank you to those people. But this is still inside of the soccer bubble. So this is it. I'm getting a little nervous here talking about it. So I'm going to finish this out here. Okay. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. Thank you so much. To the fact that I'm getting emotional. The fact that we've been on the air for more than a year through a little bit of luck. Some people stepped up. I mean, I'll say this now, despite whatever happened heading into 2014, we have to thank everybody who helped support the show in the very beginning, because we asked for contributions to make it a thing last April 2013, and you guys stepped up. Okay? You stepped up and you did an amazing thing, and it got us to a point where Kick TV said, hey, this looks cool. We'll pay you guys. We'll put you on Kick TV. It'll be great. That lasted 6 months, and it was fantastic. And I really do have to thank the people at Kick TV who believed in us. Ultimately, that relationship didn't bear the type of fruit for either one of us, them or Soccer Morning, that it really needed to keep going. And they've gone on to other things, and we continued the show. We didn't want to end the show at the end of 2013. It was a World Cup year. How the hell do you quit doing a daily soccer show in a World Cup year? You just don't. So we ran an Indiegogo campaign. That was great. That got funded. That carried us through 3 months, the first quarter of 2014. And we got to May, and we said, you know, we had hoped that the first quarter was going to bring us the type of attention from sponsors that we wouldn't have to ask you guys anymore. That would be it. That we'd have 2 or 3 people step up, sponsor the show. That would be the funding that would keep Trevor and I going. And we'd be able to keep it going through the World Cup. And that didn't happen for a lot of reasons. Some of them just misfortune. Some of them just the lack of manpower that we have. Again, it's tiny little operation we got here. If we had somebody selling the show on a daily basis, maybe that'd be different. But you can't really get somebody to sell the show without the promise of money. Well, you're going to do that work for free. Hey, I'll sell your show, and I won't ask for anything in return. No, of course not. Of course not. So here we are. This is it. It's World Cup week, and I want to make it positive, and I want to have a good time. And we certainly have. We'll get as many great guests as we can throughout the tournament. We'll drop some MLS in there. Well, they're taking a break for 2 weeks, but maybe today we can talk a little MLS if you want to. What did Obafemi Martins do yesterday? I don't know what he did. All right. I don't know that either one of us, Trevor or I, really thought we were going to do this today. But we both decided that it was important to be honest with you guys at this point. And again, everybody who has contributed at any point in the last year and 3 months, year and 2 months, amazing stuff. Thank you so much. It is a testament to the soccer community in this country that we got to this point, that we existed to this point. But it's just a little bit too rough of stretch. Just a little bit too rough a stretch. Now, if something happens in the next month, some angel investor steps up and says, here's a little bit of money. And well, okay, I don't want to get into the specifics of it, because you guys know I write. I'm taking on about 1,000 writing jobs for the World Cup, and I'm excited about all of them. But I certainly can't ask Trevor to do this show day in and day out in lieu of another job that would bring him some income. We can't do that. So that's it. I'm done. Thank you so much to everybody. I'm going to probably say it 1,000 times before the end of this show, or maybe I'll come back around at the end just in case anybody missed it. But let's move on. Let's talk about the World Cup. Let's talk about what's happening here. Let's talk about what we're going to get on Thursday out of Brazil and Croatia. And then look at the calendar. Look at how awesome this is. It starts Thursday with Brazil and Croatia. Friday, Mexico and Cameroon. Saturday, Colombia, Greece, Uruguay, Costa Rica, England, Italy, Ivory Coast, Japan. Sunday, Switzerland, Ecuador, France versus Honduras, Argentina versus Bosnia. Monday, the United States begins their campaign at the World Cup against Ghana. And that's what we're looking forward to. We just had the performance against Nigeria. Josie Altidore with 2 goals. Little troubled by the penalty at the end of the match when they were supposed to be locking it down. That's why you take Josie off and bring in Omar Gonzalez. But an overall encouraging performance. And I will say that it's difficult now, standing on this side of that friendly with the team now headed to Brazil. They may have just landed. It's difficult to not get excited and to not expand that little mote of hope that you had in your soul that they can get out of this group. I'm on the record here. I'm on the record at Best Soccer Show. I'm on the record in a written format that they won't get out of the group. I'm not unique in that attitude. Most people would probably say, and most of the analysts that you see out there will probably say that getting out of the group is going to be very, very difficult for the United States. And yet what they did against Nigeria in Jacksonville, it's a friendly. It doesn't mean crap. Who cares? Gives you that little bit of hope. So if nothing else, I'm excited for this World Cup because I have that. Because that's what you're supposed to do as a fan, right? You're supposed to be excited for your team's chance to prove everybody wrong. If you're Brazil, and I'm sure that the Brazilian fans are thrilled to be favorites. I'm sure they're thrilled to have everybody think that they're going to win because that means their team is very good. And obviously the home field advantage, home country advantage is a part of that. It is. But at the same time, there's something special about being the underdog. And one day, this may not happen for 50 years. This might not happen in my lifetime, which I hope is a little bit more than 50. That's going to be tough. 50. Can I do 50 more years? Well, there's something special about being the underdog. And at some point, the United States will stop being an underdog. Even in a group like this. Even in a group with Portugal and Germany and a very good side in Ghana. That's going to happen. And that'll be different, I think, for us. And I'm not saying it's bad. Hell, I'd love to be the favorite in this group. But there are smart soccer people I see now who, based on the things that have happened over the last couple of weeks, including Ronaldo having some tendinosis, still don't know what that is, Marco Reus going down, Germany suffering just a little bit of doubt within the camp. Hey, this improves the Americans' chances. Yeah, they're still not favorites to get out of the group. It's still going to be really, really tough, and we don't know. But if they beat Ghana, how excited are you going to be for the opportunity to go get something out of Portugal? Maybe beat Portugal. Can the United States beat Portugal? Absolutely, they can beat Portugal. Absolutely, they can. 100%. They might have to play a near-perfect match, but they can beat Portugal. Gringo Mark, here's a point. Mexico lost their last two friendlies. I think that was, I know they lost to Portugal. The last-minute goal by Bruno Alves. Who'd they lose in the previous game, Trevor? I should have this in my brain, but I'm so full up of World Cup stuff right now. Can't remember who Mexico played in the previous match. Somebody will tell me on Twitter. They lost their last two friendlies, then they're in full panic mode in Mexico. Well, some of the press, and this is that's a function of the type of press Mexico has. The type of press we have in this country, I don't really want to go into that societal element of how we treat soccer. I really don't, because I made the mistake of listening to some sports talk radio discussion about soccer this weekend, and it was bad. It was terrible. It wanted me to drive my car off a bridge. Just a little bit, because it was that bad. And it does, but that's not emblematic, I don't think, of our soccer culture. And I told you this last week when we talked about all those polls and that Washington Post story about how interest in soccer hasn't grown since 1994. That Washington Post story was a topic of discussion among some writer friends and I at the Spain-El Salvador friendly this weekend. That's where I was on Saturday. I went out and watched Spain-El Salvador and covered it for ESPN FC. And that piece was a discussion, a talking point. But it doesn't need to be. And we shouldn't be tying ourselves to those. And that's where the mainstream discussion on the sports talk radio stations about soccer came from. Why isn't soccer more popular than it was 20 years ago? I'm sorry, it is. You want to ignore the signs and look at this polling data, which may have several flaws? Fine. Bosnia, that's right. Mexico lost to Bosnia. Then, I want to push that to the side because we do have a vibrant soccer culture. Not vibrant enough to support Soccer Morning all the time, but we do have a vibrant soccer culture. And it does exist. And this is a multifaceted country that has become more and more fractured as the modern technology has kicked in, as the media age has kicked in. How many channels do you have on your cable or satellite system right now? How many? Do you even know how many channels you have? How many? You have 12 cooking channels. You have 16 sports channels. You have 10 channels about gardening. I don't know. All of those things manage to exist, and all of those things indicate, again, how fractured, fractionalized. I don't know, what word am I looking for here? And that's true about our sports culture. I mean, look, the NFL dominates everything and makes it quadrillion, billion dollars a year. And that's great. And we love our football, I suppose, as Americans. I'm speaking for all Americans here right now, because you know me. But everything else is still, lots of people go to baseball games. It's culturally ingrained. If you had to guess, what percentage of Major League Baseball attendees actually follow the sport on a day-to-day basis, percentage-wise, what would you put that at? I'd put that at less than 50%. And I think that's generous. I think that's generous. That doesn't mean baseball's dying. I'm not trying to bury baseball. I love baseball. But it just tells you, again, how much of the development of soccer here is about more than just polling a bunch of people, but right before the 1994 World Cup, which was happening here, and then polling again 20 years later and trying to draw a conclusion. And not only that, there is a significant increase in the population of this country between those two periods, which indicates that even if the numbers percentage-wise are the same, the amount of soccer fans, the number of soccer fans has grown. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. Let's talk about actual World Cups. Well, no, actually, we're not going to do that. Not yet, anyway. We've got 4 days until the World Cup starts, 4 shows until the World Cup starts. And I suppose we still have to discuss FIFA and everything about FIFA. And the fact that FIFA makes it difficult for us to swallow watching this World Cup without any guilt whatsoever. You can't watch it without guilt. You're not going to be able to do that. Maybe within the 90-minute period that the game is actually happening. Maybe then you can push that guilt to the side, pretend it doesn't exist. But there's going to be some as this World Cup goes on because Brazil's got problems. People are going to be protesting. FIFA is disgustingly corrupt. And there's a perfect way. John Oliver, boiling this down. Again, I sort of started this. My brain's like all over the place this morning. But John Oliver boiled this down, and I didn't get a chance to cut up much of the audio. But here's John Oliver putting FIFA in context. I love this.
Telling someone about the inner workings of FIFA for the first time is a bit like showing someone 2 Girls, 1 Cup. You do it mainly so you can watch the horrified expression on people's faces.
That's it. That's what we've been doing on this show for more than a year. And I think that we've added something to the discussion. I hope. Talking to, I'll fail to name every guest we've had that's helped us with Brazil and helped us with these issues. Oh, I won't even name any of them because I might get somebody's name wrong or I'll forget one. We've had some incredibly insightful, knowledgeable people help put some of this in context. And the World Cup is actually here, and I'm with John Oliver because the rest of that segment is essentially him laying out the case against FIFA and then saying in the end, damn it, I'm excited. I'm ready for this World Cup. I have never been as excited for anything as I am excited for this right now. And that's every 4 years, and it happens, and it continues to happen. And you still hate FIFA. And you'll hate FIFA when this World Cup is over. And you'll hate FIFA throughout the whole thing. But you're going to watch. You're going to watch either your team play, or you're going to watch every single game like I am. I'm lucky enough, at least for the next month, to have a job that allows me to sit at home and watch all these games. And look, this is the time zones work out for us. I mean, let's not forget that this is only an hour ahead of the East Coast. Now, you West Coasters, you're kind of screwed again. You're always screwed on this level when it comes to sports and timing and everything else. But, I mean, look at this. Brazil, Croatia starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, that's a little early for the East Coast to get off of work, but you might be able to sneak out. Friday, Mexico, Cameroon's at 12. I mean, that's a little tougher. But then you've got Spain, Netherlands at 3, and then you've got an evening game. 6 o'clock Eastern, Chile and Australia. So if you rush home, you get off at 5, you rush home, sit in traffic, you rush home, you can watch that game. And there's the weekend, obviously. Everybody who's off on the weekend is going to watch. There are 4 games on Saturday. going to wake up, going to get some breakfast, going to play with my kid, have some coffee, sit down, noon, Colombia, Greece, 3, Uruguay, Costa Rica, 6, England, Italy, 9, Ivory Coast, Japan. I'm going to be watching soccer for 11 hours, essentially. There's a couple of gaps in there. But I'm essentially going to be watching soccer for 11 hours straight on Saturday, the biggest sporting competition in the world. And I'm going to enjoy every second of the actual soccer while making snarky comments on Twitter, because that's what we do. But then FIFA. It makes you sick. We have done this calculus, and we're all in. If you are principled enough to turn your back on the World Cup because FIFA's corrupt, because Brazil has issues, because Qatari slave labor, because of all of these things, you're a better person than I am. 317, you're on the air.
Am I really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is Mary in Indianapolis. Can he say something talk about Ghana?
What about
Ghana's
Ghana?
Ranked somewhere in the 38th or 39th.
Yeah, but the ranking varies.
I know FIFA rankings don't count,
okay.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, golly gee.
Well, I mean,
okay.
they're the closest we've got. There come some other independent rankings out there that are probably closer. But, really, the United States is ranked, 13th right now? Ghana's in the 30s? What I'm saying to you is those teams are pretty damn close in quality, regardless of the 20 spots that separate them.
Well, we had a good game. We played like a team, and I'm got my fingers crossed that we're going to pull it out. So
all right.
Thank you for taking the call,
all right,
and
Mary.
I'm glad your program is still on for a while.
I appreciate that, Mary. Thanks a lot.
All right, bye-bye.
Mary in Indianapolis. That was cool. That was really cool. Talking about the United States, and phone lines are open. 347-756-6276. Be like Mary, call in. Give me your thoughts on USA Nigeria and how that makes you feel heading into this World Cup. Ghana, a week from today. It's coming a week from today. The United States will play Belgium in that closed-door scrimmage at some point. That really won't give us any information, and I'm assuming the press will only have basic information coming out of it. So there's that to consider. There's Nigeria to consider. The fact that they're all friendlies and they all mean nothing to consider. Think about this. France beat Jamaica 8-0 this weekend. Now, is France that good? They have a lot of firepower. They are going to be dangerous in the World Cup. Is Jamaica 8-0 bad? I don't think so. But then again, you get that ball rolling. You're down 3, 4, 5-0. Pretty easy for it to get to 8. Pretty easy for these people to sort of for these Jamaican players to sort of shut down. Yeah. I mean, so what do we feel? Do you take that 8-0 scoreline and immediately translate it into France is going to be awesome in this World Cup? Yeah, they might be. And I've got them as a dark horse. I got them as a team that could make some noise despite being sort of a traditional World Cup team, World Cup power. They're still under the radar a bit. 985, you're on the air.
Hey, this is Alfonso from New Orleans.
What's up, Alfonso?
No, I just wanted to give you thanks for doing everything you did for the past year.
I appreciate that.
I've been a listener since the beginning, and I really appreciate everything you've done for the soccer community. But I also wanted to bring up the fact that, it's the same kind of duality we have as a soccer community growing up in, when MLS started, we were upset, the soccer purists, of course, of the penalties not being the clock running up instead of down instead of up.
And overtime.
But you love the game. You love the fact that it started here. It was ours. And, you had to have that passion. And, my team, Dallas Burn, you kind of you grew into that love of the team. And sure, they changed, and now you love your Dallas till I die.
Yeah. But this is the thing, and I think that New York's got this with Metro, and maybe not. Well, San Jose has evolved and disappeared and come back, so maybe it doesn't fly in San Jose. But that Burn thing, there's sort of a weird pride about. You have a weird affection for that terrible name that you used to have, right?
Oh yeah, I mean we have the Inferno, we have the Brimstone Cup with the fire, and then one of our one of the favorite blogs that we used to like to listen to follow is Third Degree Burn. You know,
yeah,
so,
they're still out there. Yeah,
it doesn't really make sense with the whole hoops and toros things, but comparing that with the World Cup, you know, this is what we have, and regardless of what FIFA's obstacles and frustrations thrown our way, we love the game, and this is what we have. We have to support it because, you know, we love our team, we love our country, we love our federation, and, you know, we'll be rooting for Mexico as much as it pains us, and Honduras for CONCACAF to do well, but, you know, until there's an alternative, which, you know, day by day seems like maybe there will be an alternative in the near future, we have to love the game. So.
Yeah, you know, this is happening with the NFL. There are people, and I'm one of them, has had difficulty reconciling the issues with the NFL and the concussions and the painkillers and the way that they've treated retired players and loving the sport. I have an NFL team that I live and die with every Sunday, and I still watch them, even though some of the actions of the NFL have disgusted me. And I still believe that sport is too dangerous for human beings to really play at that level. I mean, we're going to continue to see these suicides and the CTE and post-death autopsy. I mean, in the autopsies, we're going to see all of this stuff. And yet America is going to continue to watch the NFL in insanely massive numbers until, I don't know, what's the breaking point? And we haven't hit the FIFA breaking point yet, Alfonso. I don't know if we ever will.
And it's very funny because at the same time, we talk about the NFL with just the physical aspect. You talk about the moral aspect, too, of something embroiling on with one of the teams that's close by to you, you know. Some people don't even refer to the team as the name of the team. Mm-hmm. So, you know, things change. It reminds me of that Chuck Blazer article written a couple of, like a week ago, where, you know, how can you hate a guy who did so much in a self-serving way to advance the way? We wouldn't be here if it weren't for him.
No.
And in some small way, Jack Warner, but at the same time, you have to despise the way that they did it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with FIFA. You know, you love the game, but at the same time, you hope for change, and this is the best thing we can do. And I harken back to one of your callers and the other on another show you had was, you know, write your senator, and as silly as that might sound, maybe somebody getting a surprise letter from their constituent would make a difference.
If this rises to the level of disgust for you, that's our friend Rick in Philly. Yeah, definitely. Write your senator, write your congressman, call their office and say, hey, can you please pressure U.S. Soccer, who has no governmental connection, by the way. Let's make that clear. Right. There's no government oversight of U.S. Soccer. They're independent. But if the government says, hey, U.S. Soccer, because they do this with baseball all the time with the drugs and everything else, they're doing it with NFL now. Can you please step up and make a stand against FIFA? Then maybe that'll happen. Appreciate the phone call, Alfonso.
Oh, no problem. Thanks again.
Yeah, and the Chuck Blazer thing. Here's an interesting thing to consider before I get to this next phone call. Would you be a fan of soccer right now if Chuck Blazer hadn't been doing things dirty in the 80s? It's a real question, because without Chuck Blazer, the U.S. national team's probably not playing enough games to get to the point where they make the World Cup in 1990. And there was a real possibility that FIFA was considering taking away the World Cup in 94 if the United States couldn't prove themselves capable of making a World Cup or being good enough not to embarrass themselves at a World Cup. Chuck Blazer's part of the reason that all that stuff came together. 860, you're on the air.
Hey, Jason, it's Zach in Arlington, Virginia. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Zach? My old stomping grounds, Arlington, Virginia.
I got a question about this closed-door Belgium game. I don't know if there's really an answer to my question, but considering that they're probably the team that we would see if we get out of the group, do you think this helps or it hurts us in the long run?
I think it's weird, is what I think, Zach. I mean, I don't get it. I don't know if anybody really understands why they would schedule this match. And again, calling it a match is even generous, I think. I mean, they may play it as a straight 90-minute exercise or 45 minutes and 45, but there's going to be liberal substitutions. I imagine that the speed is going to be very interesting. I don't know how hard you really go in that sort of game. But yeah, the fact that the United States, should they get out of the group, and we all sort of assume, and maybe we're wrong about this, Zach, but if they do get out of the group, we assume they'll finish in second. Belgium's a favorite to win their group, and based on the way that the second round works out, that would put the United States against Belgium. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems really crazy to me. I mean, I heard of several teams as this like closed door thing, kind of as rumors. I remember England, I think, at one point was discussed, and it just seems weird that a team that we would likely see But yeah, I mean, thanks for taking my call. That was my question.
All right, man. Appreciate the phone call. 570, you're on the air.
Hey, Jason. This is Mike from Pennsylvania. How you doing?
Hey, Mike. What's going on?
Not too much. I just wanted to talk about the actual confidence that the USA will have going into their first game here with Ghana. I mean, you know, we played another African nation with that friendly in Nigeria, and I think if we played like one of these better teams, like, you know, Ghana, Portugal, Germany, like Josie's second goal, like that doesn't get in against, you know, a better goalkeeper.
No, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all. Do you see how hard he hit that ball?
I mean, he hit it real hard.
Yeah, but Inyama is not a terrible. This is the danger. I get where you're going with this, but I think this is a dangerous area for fans to go into. You can pick apart every single performance in this send-off series. You can pick apart every goal and minimize it if you want to. You really can. You can say, well, look, there's ball watching on that goal, and okay, that the defender probably doesn't get beaten if it's a Portuguese defender or a German defender. The goalkeeper might make the save. That is open-ended, and there's no way to stop yourself, and there's no way to prove that you're right. So why even bother going down that? That's all I'm saying. I'm not being critical of you. I'm just saying, as fans, we have to be careful about locking into this negative mindset and minimizing everything. They have I think they have a slightly better chance of getting out of the group than they did when the send-off series started, and I couldn't ask for more, really.
Yeah, definitely, and that's based on the Royce injury and, you know, Ronaldo possibly. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to affect him as much as people think, but, you know, that definitely was sad. I'm just trying not to go in with a biased.
But why? Why do American fans do this? Why do American soccer fans do this thing where we feel we have to overcorrect for our natural inclination to believe in our team, and therefore become these? It's like this. Snob is not the right word. It may be on that level, but it's certainly this attitude that to prove your soccer chops, to prove you're a fan of soccer, you have to downgrade everything that is yours. So, I'm American. Even if this is true for even people who root for the national team. And there's certainly plenty of Americans who don't root for the U.S. national team. But their instinct is to go, then the Americans aren't very good. They're not going to be able to get. They're not going to compete. They're going to get destroyed 6-0 in every single game because, look, Portugal is Portugal and has Cristiano Ronaldo. Germany is Germany and has all of this great talent, and they do. And the United States is not a favorite. And the United States is going to have a difficult road to get out of this group. That is not wrong. But to sort of paint them as no hopers, I don't get that. Because they're not no hopers.
No, definitely not. No, I mean, you know, we have very talented players that have played internationally that have come back. I mean, Michael Bradley was just on point in that Nigerian game. If he plays like that, I mean, I think we have a shot at, you know, a draw or maybe even, you know, a hopeful win against like a Germany. Yep. You know, Dempsey is Dempsey. He's one of the best American Premier League players of all time. Mm-hmm. Tim Howard, you know, one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League still.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying we don't have a chance.
But you are correcting you are trying to correct for something, and it's I'm not saying you're wrong necessarily. I just find it interesting that fans need to do this. I gotta move on. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. 626. You're on the air.
Yeah, this is Mark in LA.
Hey, Mark. What's going on, man?
Good. You know, I guess my main concern right now is the fact that the World Cup is starting and the LA Kings haven't finished it off yet. So I'm a little stressed out with that because I don't want to have to make that decision. So, you know, if we can take games 3 and 4, then it'll be over, and then I can enjoy the World Cup without any feelings of guilt or having to make a decision between the two.
I'll cross my fingers for you, man.
Especially after that friendly on when was it? Saturday.
Yeah.
With the U.S. You know, I think if there's one thing that I can take away from that, it's that going with Kyle Beckerman and Jermaine Jones in the middle may not be the worst idea in the world, even against Ghana, even in a game that the U.S. quote unquote absolutely has to have and has to push.
I know.
You know, I just think that being solid defensively, we've shown that the U.S. can be effective on the counter, especially with Fabian Johnson flying down the right side. And you just feel, especially with that defense, that Ghanaian defense, which there's a lot of question marks about. You just feel like the U.S. is going to get their chance, and you don't want to leave yourself too exposed against Boateng and Gian. I just think
But that's why Jones and Beckerman playing together makes sense. And because Michael Bradley has rounded into this more creative influence in this team, sort of been freed of his shackles, and I don't think that's really what he's best at, but he's capable of it, and I don't think there's another player in the pool that you put in that position and feel confident he can contribute both defensively and in the attack. And that's what Michael Bradley has brought. Michael Bradley is the transformative element of this team headed into the World Cup.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we saw without a doubt, and, it's been repeated ad nauseum, but, the U.S. is going to win or die with Michael Bradley. If Michael Bradley puts in an amazing performance, the U.S. has a real shot to get out of this group. If he's not on, if he's not connecting, if the ball is not going through him, if players are not moving well off of him, then it's just not going to happen.
Well, I will say, let me. I got to let you go because I got more calls coming in. But I will say that sort of off of that, I don't know that it necessarily takes a fantastic performance from Michael Bradley. I think what it takes is the solid defensive work of Beckerman and Jones behind him. If this is what Klinsmann's going to do, what we saw against Nigeria, the solid defensive work of Jones and Beckerman behind him, and then Michael Bradley contributing defensively, which isn't the part of his game you worry about. You worry about his passing and his ability to stay connected, as the caller said. But all he needs is one or two excellent moments in the attack, and that's what can put the United States over the top. I mean, you watch, and full credit to Jermaine Jones for that first goal against Nigeria, because that goal came from him. Watch the sequence, by the way. There's a tactical cam view of this, and my friend Will Parchman over at Total Top Door Soccer has written up something on this goal and how it relates to the U.S. Youth program. Watch it from the tactical cam. The United States plays out of the back. Almost every player on the field touches the ball at some point, and it ends up with Jermaine Jones touching the ball on the right flank in the defensive third, and then finishing off or being part of the play by passing the ball to Fabian Johnson on the right side in the attacking third. And that's why he's on the field, and that's why you need him there. Let's go to 816. You're on the air.
Hey, Jason. Just want to start off by saying I can't call you and bug you anymore pretty soon, so I'm just going to be bugging you on Twitter every day.
All right, do it. All right, bring it. That's fine. Look, never mind. I don't want to go back into that yet. Go ahead, man. What's up?
All right. So earlier you mentioned that you should write your senator or write somebody in politics.
Sure.
I think for the FIFA corruption, I think there needs to be a different venue. I think you need to go after the sponsors.
Okay,
the only way Qatar is going to lose their bid is because the sponsors are fighting what's going on, not anybody in politics.
Fair enough. The money talks. And it is interesting you bring this up, and I had meant to transition to this. There are several sponsors who are, quote-unquote, concerned about FIFA corruption. Now, let me say that this is not the first time that FIFA sponsors have said something like this. It's happened before. And you know what the impact, you know what the ultimate fallout was for FIFA? Nothing. Nothing changed. Nothing happened. There was no real pressure on FIFA to make any fund. We've got FIFA Ethics Committee now. That is an internal review process with no oversight. So here's some of your sponsor reaction. The negative tenor of the public debate around FIFA at the moment is neither good for football nor for FIFA and its partners, said Adidas. Coca-Cola, anything that detracts from the mission and ideals of the FIFA World Cup is a concern to us. It's words. It means nothing. Now, if people stop buying the products produced by these companies in large numbers, maybe something happens because a sponsor is upset. I can't see it. There's too much money to be made. Here, to that point, let me read this little factoid, which I pulled from a story. Sports market intelligence company SportCal says the World Cup in Brazil will gross $4.28 billion, up from 2010's $3.66 billion, and 2006's $2.35 billion. Where does that money go? Who gets that money? FIFA gets that money. It all goes into FIFA's pockets. And these sponsors are still raking it in because they are attached to this event that brings in $4.28 billion. Anything else?
Yeah, I can understand that a little bit, but when you start having people die, let me give it just an off-the-wall example. Lance Armstrong. Mm-hmm. Look how the dominoes completely fell.
That's one man.
Organization.
That is one man whose entire career was tainted by the fact he cheated. We're talking about one individual. I see where you're going with that, and I really hope you're right, but I just don't know. This is the same thing. It relates to the same reason I don't think there's going to be a revote on Qatar. I just don't think the pressure is going to be there. I think FIFA will find a way to dance around the subject, ultimately say, well, Qatar has committed all of this money. It would be wrong to take it from them now, et cetera, et cetera. We can use this as a way to affect change both within FIFA and in their labor practices. I just don't see how it's going to happen. Somebody will find a way, plausible deniability on all of this, and we'll end up playing the World Cup in Qatar in 2022, and Visa and Coca-Cola and Adidas and everybody will be there with the bells on, making as much money as they possibly can.
So, can I ask a quick question? And I know you got other callers.
Yeah,
but if all of a sudden somebody does what they did with the tobacco industry and puts $4,000 fake bodies on the lawn of Coca-Cola, you don't think that's going to draw enough national attention and force them to do something?
Maybe. I'm just so cynical about the whole process, and you're still talking about Well, I think that soccer is fine and doing fine here and isn't going anywhere. You're still talking about a sport that is only interesting to the mainstream every 4 years. That's part of the problem there.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate the phone call, Rick in Philly. You're going to be the last one before I take a break. What's up?
Jason, I've been told by a journalist of our mutual acquaintance I call too often, but I have to say, I've been listening to you since the American Soccer Show and Friona Bosman, and if there's anybody who has the right to claim to be the voice of the American soccer fan, it's you, and it's a real shame. You've done great stuff with this show, and it's a real shame that most of the people who make such decisions don't see that.
Well, look, I'll say this, and this, this isn't something that Trevor is really. I mean, I feel bad saying this because I don't know what it's going to mean for NASN or whatever down the line. But just because Soccer Morning's likely to die, and it's the daily format that's the real problem here. But just because
it's the daily format that's so vital.
I realize that, and that's what we always thought, is that in order to do this right, we had to do something daily. We had to respond to the news as it broke, as it happened. We had to get the journalists on, the voices on, the coaches on, the players on, who were relevant in that exact moment. And really, again, because we're not on the radio, there is not an infrastructure that exists to support us. Companies don't think of this format as worth their time as radio, and they don't think of it as worth their time as internet advertising. That's just the way it is right now. And
no, you're absolutely right. But it is a terrible shame. This is something special, and it's a shame to see it go.
I appreciate that.
The other reason I called, I was writing on my preview of the World Cup, of the U.S. at the World Cup. Am I crazy for thinking that at this point Portugal is actually the weakest side in the group? Because if Ronaldo can't play or Ronaldo is limited, it seems like they haven't managed a tactical shift to actually make it work without him.
That's an odd. I need to really dig into Portugal a little bit more. But you could argue on one hand that Portugal is unbalanced with Ronaldo in the team because so much of it needs to go through him that you have to feed a player that good the ball. Go look at what happened against Sweden in the playoffs for the World Cup qualifying. He drove them to qualify to beat Sweden and make it to this World Cup. But if you take him out, there are two things I think that can happen. One, it's a massive void that they don't know how to fill over a short timeline. Or they adjust, they become more balanced, and suddenly you're talking about a more dangerous team across the breadth of their attacking front.
You would think that, but given the short period of time and given the uncertainty over him, I think it's the former. And finally, real quick,
I just don't want to. I don't want to jump to that conclusion, Rick. That's the only thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, and finally, real quick, given what the last talker was talking about, I did contact several U.S. congressmen and senators, and I also have some information that the AFL-CIO is going to start bringing pressure against FIFA's World Cup sponsors, based on the workers' rights and the issues in Qatar.
Wow. Okay, AFL-CIO being involved is pretty big news. Pretty big news. Rick, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Vince is the last caller. I lied. We'll take a break after Vince. What's up? Are you on the air with me? Is this?
Hello?
Is this? Oh, 951. I'm not sure who this is. Who's this?
I'm Daniel, man. What's up?
All right. Sorry, Daniel. What's up, man?
Yeah, I think USA gets out of the group. I feel like we'll beat Ghana, we'll beat Portugal, and then I see us drawing against Germany, and I honestly don't think Julian Green is ready for the big stage.
Wow, 7 points is an insane sort of belief. I love it. I love that you're on it. I love that you're that guy, Daniel. I really appreciate it. All right, man. You got anything else?
I don't know about you, but I'm liking that Johnson and Altidore combo. It's looking really good.
I think apparently they're roommates right now. They've been roommates during the send-off series, and it's there's some chemistry there. It works out, and Fabian Johnson going forward is really good. He just needs to make sure he is disciplined defensively. Daniel, appreciate the phone call, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a break. Let's go out with let's go out with Fusion's World Cup unofficial World Cup anthem. I don't know if you saw this video starring Alexi Lawless. Soccer.fusion.com is the website where you can find this. Those guys have done something pretty funny. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back. Soccer Morning, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Be right back.
I nearly drove my truck off the Hoover Dam, but my love was strong.
Welcome back to Soccer Morning on NASN with Jason Davis.
Back on Soccer Morning, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. That is an Italy official World Cup song. Maybe not official, but I got it at When Saturday Comes. That's pretty heavy for let's go support the Azzurri at the World Cup. That just seems a little too, I don't know, 1990s grunge style stuff. Apparently it was like an update of some song. Anyway, When Saturday Comes has a bunch of these. I've grabbed a couple. I've got Bosnia. I've got Portugal. I've got, what is this one? Oh, Colombia. Got Colombia. Yeah, we got that. All right, phone lines open, 347-756-6276. Coming out of the weekend, this is your show. This is your opportunity to get in on anything. We can talk about FIFA malfeasance. We can talk about how excited you are for the World Cup. Here's a question I was going to ask, and I know this is dangerous territory for us soccer people. And I've already discussed how I flipped on my local sports talk radio station, and the Yahoos on the air were debating the popularity rather than talking about this World Cup or, let's look at the national team and where's the strengths, where's the weaknesses, what is Jurgen Klinsmann doing? It's always about how popular is soccer. Well, why don't more people care? Shut up. Just shut up. Just treat it like any other sport. And I know this is dangerous, but I'm curious for you Americans out there, or Vince is on the line, for you Canadians out there, what is the World Cup coverage in your particular town like? Outside of the bubble of me or the soccer channels, when you go out into your community, is there any buzz? People talking about it? Do you get asked if you're a known soccer fan? Vince, what's up?
Oh, hey, Jason.
Oh, hey, Vince.
First off, you kind of freaked me out when you were saying Vince is on the line, but it wasn't.
That's my fault.
And I was about to call in. I'm like, whoa, is something going on here?
I forgot that I have you saved so that I know when you're called. Like, I have your name saved, so your phone number is attached. It says Vince from Toronto or on my Skype when it pops up when you call in. So I jumped the gun because I guess the area code was either the same or looked the same in my head. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's an interesting case. I mean, because like I said, I've mentioned it before. I wasn't always a soccer fan, right? I was a straight up hockey fan growing up. But I've always lived in Canada. Is like this, especially Toronto and where I live, a very immigrant heavy population. And for me specifically, where I lived was Italians, and so I was exposed to more Juventus and Inter Milan than when I was younger than I knew what to do with. So the coverage was always very heavily focused on soccer, especially during the World Cup. I mean, this is my gripe a bit with the Italian national team. It's simply that whenever the World Cup or the Euros would come around, everybody who was raised in Canada and did not speak Italian or anything would automatically remember, oh, I have an Italian grandparent. Oh, yeah, let's go Italy and everything, while not giving a crap about it, all those other years.
Yeah. Vince, you live it there in your community, but I mean that's a thing in the United States. I mean, there's the percentage of Italians from the Jersey, New York area that actually that were born here and grew up here and are American in every sense. Giuseppe Rossi type guy. I mean, Giuseppe Rossi's dad was born in Italy. We're talking about Italians who are 4 generations since their family got here, who will root for the Italian national team. And here's the interesting thing. I don't know that other people have this thought, Vince, and I don't know what the community is like in Toronto, but certainly in the United States, you think about how all of these Italian immigrants came to the United States at the turn of the century, even before that a little bit, and how Italian New York is, how Italian Jersey is, how Italian Boston is, and you wonder why soccer wasn't such a big deal. And we have Joe DiMaggio, who's from San Francisco, but was Italian. You wonder why wasn't he a soccer player? Why wasn't that his thing? There's historically speaking, Italians came here before soccer was even big in Italy. So they didn't bring with them, a lot of them. Some of them did, that immigrated in the 20s and 30s and 40s, but a lot of the Italian immigrants got here to the United States before soccer was even a thing in Italy. I just find that fascinating.
Yeah, it developed in different places. I don't know, perhaps because I know the United States early on in the 1900s they were very isolationists or whatever. They didn't want to be involved with the outside world. Perhaps that played a part in not wanting to import something like that.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I want to talk a little bit Michael Bradley. Obviously, TFC's getting along well without him, so I'm excited to see what happens when he comes back. Hopefully, he won't come back too soon.
From your lips, yeah. Go ahead.
But I just love the evolution of a guy who it's very interesting because he seems to have become a better player since coming back to Major League Soccer.
That's interesting. Hold on, Vince. I think that's interesting to consider because I think that there's I haven't really talked about what Bob Bradley said about Arsenal and whether or not there's that anti-American bias in Europe and blah, blah, blah. And I know that Bob subsequently went on other podcasts and sort of clarified what he was talking about. And while I do think that there's a different standard for American players in some sense, I don't know that it's necessarily conscious. I think scouts and coaches just tend to, default to the soccer nation if they're looking at 2 players side by side. I think Michael Bradley wasn't necessarily allowed to express himself fully. So is he a better player now? Yeah, maybe he is, but I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think maybe he was sort of pigeonholed a bit when he was in Italy, when he was in Germany. I mean, we know he can score goals if he's pulled into the attack based on what he did in Holland. That's a long time ago. He's maybe a different player. But I think this was always latent ability within him that just wasn't utilized. And that's the sort of thing you want to say about any really good player, that they can be used in different positions and excel. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they've gotten better. It just means that they're using a different part of their abilities.
Yeah, no, that's true. You could tell. I mean, with Garcia's tactics at Roma, he was essentially not allowed to perhaps express himself in the way he was most comfortable with. The same thing that TFC's let him to do. They've allowed him to be the general, as he's called. They've allowed him to roam around and dictate the flow of the game, like I've mentioned before, like a Yaya Toure or Arturo Vidal. And that's very much what Michael Bradley is, and that's something that not many players can do as a midfielder. Be able to do so much and cover so much ground, and not, whether it's the 8th minute or the 80th minute, never let up that intensity. And it's very impressive. And I mean, with the diamond, you could argue perhaps Michael Bradley, while he is fantastic and he can roam around and everything, perhaps he's better in a deeper role. Mm-hmm. And definitely after the World Cup, and we'll see what happens, because I do expect Beckham and Jermaine Jones to step down from the team see who he gets partnered with. I'd like to see him with Maurice Edu, because Edu is very good at that defensive midfield role. And perhaps you could do either the flat 4-4-2 or the 4-2-3-1 with Bradley, being deeper, but still being able to express himself, and knowing he has a guy like Maurice Edu, or even someone like a Will Trapp or someone like that. To definitely back him up.
You could see it go the other way though, Vince. I mean, is it all right for me to imagine an American midfield with Michael Bradley playing behind Luis Gil?
This is what I don't get though. Is in the diamond for RSL, does Gil play at the top, or isn't he like on the sides?
Yeah, no, he's played on one of the flank positions, but it's a necessarily narrow formation, and go ahead.
I don't know, because if let's say the U.S. goes for the 4-2-3-1, I assume Altidore would still stay as a striker for now, simply because Clinton likes him in that role, and I'm as excited as anybody else to see him get that monkey off his back, and then I would expect Discaru to be that number 10 playing behind Altidore, especially since we've seen flashes of both of them being able to combine really well with each other. And then, I would imagine Suzy and Bedoya, maybe Breck Shea gets back into the team, who knows. We'll start seeing those wing options present themselves. And then, in the two behind them, it's Bradley, who I imagine would be like the second wave of the attack. And then someone to back him up. No, not necessarily. I mean, we've seen Yaya Toure and Fernandinho develop that partnership, and Fernandinho can still, join in the attack. Maybe not as reckless as someone like Jermaine Jones is whenever he would play with Bradley, but still contribute. And that's where I feel someone like Edu or Trapp or there's a number of options. Like I said, it is an exciting time. But we'll definitely see what more Bradley can do after the World Cup, definitely.
It's going to be fascinating to watch him. And here's something to consider, and Vince, I'm sure this would distress you as a fan. I think that Michael Bradley's committed to this TFC thing. He obviously signed a massive contract. He's probably going to, he's making more here than he could in Europe. That's certainly a thing to consider. But we may hear, depending on the World Cup, he's got to have a good one. And I think the impact of the World Cup on the transfer rumors and values is overstated a bit. But what if somebody says, we want to bring Michael Bradley back to Europe? What if, it would have to be a big club to attract him. But let's say that Arsenal changed their mind, or I don't know, Manchester United decided to make a run at Michael Bradley. Would he consider that? I'm not saying it's happening, by the way. I think it's very unlikely. I'm just
yeah, I don't know if you've been seeing like those quick things that the U.S. Soccer YouTube channel put out, like the 23 stories or whatever. Bradley pointed out a big thing about one of the reasons this career has been difficult is being away from his family.
Yeah.
And I think it was mentioned a lot that his wife and his kid had a lot to do in his factor to come back to TFC.
True.
Maybe going to England would be different. Let's say if a bigger team in England decided to take a look at him. I'm telling you right now, I expect Beasler and Suzy to head over to Europe after the World Cup. Bradley, I don't think so. I think maybe he'll leave either perhaps when he's 28, 29, maybe after the Gold Cup next year or after the Copa Central.
Well, okay, Vince, give me your
U.S. Copa America.
Give me the percentage-wise. Give me the chances you think Michael Bradley goes back to Europe.
Just overall during his career.
Yeah, during the rest of his career, leaves TFC, leaves MLS, and goes back.
I'm going to say 40%.
Okay, I think that's probably about right. I mean, the best we can imagine right now. It's going to take a lot to get him to leave. Again, because the money and the family are factors to consider, but he's not done. He's far from done, which is part of the reason it was so great that TFC grabbed him. And he's going to probably have some suitors. Somebody will call Ron Waxman and say, hey, Ron, we just saw what Michael Bradley did in the World Cup, or we're seeing what Michael Bradley's doing at TFC. We would love to have him here at blank club in Europe. Now, again, it's going to have to rise to a certain level, and maybe those clubs aren't coming in for Michael Bradley. But you could also imagine that TFC would stand to benefit transfer fee-wise. I mean, it may not be a lot, but it's be significant in MLS terms, Vince.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, I think Bradley's the kind of guy who makes sure that if he makes the move, it has to be the right one, right?
Yeah.
He can't go for money. He can't go for things. And he wants to make sure he's appreciated. I think that's the big part. I think he might have felt that while he was at Roma, that maybe he wasn't appreciated. And maybe that was because he was an American player.
And I think he doesn't want to make that mistake again. I think if he goes to Europe, he wants to make sure he gets playing time, he gets recognized for his ability, and not like some people said, like, oh, he was only at Roma for a marketing stunt because the owners are American or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think all that stuff sticking to him kind of proves Bob's point. Thanks for the call, Vince. I appreciate it, man.
No problem, Jason.
All right, there you go. There's Vince. Let's turn to our Finnish friend, Antti. What's up, man? Oh, I lost him. Antti from Finland was calling in. We'll see if he calls back. I will turn now. Speaking of the United States, I'm thinking about the future of the. I mean, look, we have a World Cup to go through for this U.S. men's national team. Let's not jump ahead, but it's hard not to get excited about the future of the U.S. men's national team program, considering some of the names and players who are at a very young age making significant contributions to a professional setup. Some of them are in MLS, like Luis Gil, like Will Trapp, and some of them are going to be overseas. And we obviously know that Julian Green has yet to break into the senior side at Bayern Munich, and more than likely will go on loan at some point in the near future. So we still have to wait that out. But there are other players, young players, who have very bright futures when it comes to the U.S. national team. And I thought this was an interesting idea. I love this from Top Drawer Soccer. Again, I'm twice in a row, 2 plugs in a row for Top Drawer Soccer. These guys are the sort of the youth soccer development gurus when it comes to American topics. They've got an interesting idea or an interesting article on the development path of each of the World Cup players for the United States to sort of compare and contrast. Look at where they came from, how they got to this point. They've got today's edition, and they're going to do this with several different posts. Today's edition: Josie Altidore, DeMarcus Beasley, Kyle Beckerman, Alejandro Bedoya, and Matt Beasler. And what you'll see here, I don't want to go through every single player's individual path because boring. We'll get bogged down. But go look at this because you have Josie Altidore, who played in Florida, got into the residency program for the U17s. DeMarcus Beasley obviously is a Bradenton product, one of the first from the first class of Bradenton products. Kyle Beckerman was a youth international and a Bradenton product, also on that team, that 99 team with DeMarcus Beasley and Landon Donovan. Bedoya was not a U.S. national team player, a U.S. international at the youth level until at U23s. Matt Beasler played briefly as a U20, but really didn't make a mark until after he came out of college. And this is going to change significantly. Antti's on the line. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm okay. It's an interesting day. It's emotional.
Yeah. So, but what I was thinking about was that actually going forward past this World Cup and the next World Cup cycle, which will eventually begin in about a month.
Yes.
and I was thinking about so when Klinsmann is bringing in his new players, and the next championship will be the U20s in January of 2015. But for the first thing that sticks out is CONCACAF hasn't told anyone where it will be.
Huh.
And it's just 6 months out.
Yeah. It sounds very CONCACAF. Go ahead.
Then there will be, if they qualify, they will be going to the Under-20s World Cup in New Zealand, which will be sometime in 2015. But then also there will be the Pan American Games. So there will be a lot of opportunities for those young guys who will be at the almost prime age when the next World Cup comes in 2018.
I wasn't aware that there was soccer at the Pan American Games. I guess I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, for some reason, U.S. hasn't qualified in 2 or 3 past events.
Well, I mean, it's way down the list of events that you care. I mean, this is
the last time U.S. was men's soccer team was in 2007.
Okay,
it was in Brazil.
I'm going to use this opportunity, what you talking about the U20s and that level, to again turn back to Will Parchman's piece that I mentioned earlier today about the goal the United States scored against Nigeria, the first goal, the build-up play, playing out of the back, how that relates to the U15 team is where he takes it, because at that level your only concern is developing good soccer players. Your concern shouldn't be about winning games necessarily, okay? And do we take that? How far do you take that? How far up the ladder do you take that? If you are trying to change a way of playing, a style of playing, if you're trying to make playing out of the back, and that sounds very simple, but clearly it requires a lot of movement off the ball, players making correct decisions all the way up the field. If you're trying to impact that change, do you care about winning a U20 World Cup? Does a U20 World Cup matter in terms of success? Do you need to hang your hat on something like that? Because we've had American teams do fairly well in that tournament, and it really hasn't meant anything for the national team.
I don't know if it matters, but it does give opportunities for those guys to get spots in very tough competitive environments for example, like Barcelona,
But my point is if you're playing, this is all related to where Will takes this is Hugo Perez's U15 team. And they apparently lost 4-1 to a New York Red Bulls academy side.
Yep.
In a pretty 4-1 sounds like a resounding loss. After the game, the way that Perez talked about it, he was happy with the way that they played. He was excited with the way that they played because they were doing exactly what he wanted them to do. That they were playing out of the back. They were keeping the ball on the ground. They were moving in a direction that both he and Klinsmann want to see the U.S. national team program move. And that's more important than winning. How far up the ladder do we take that? Because if the US U20s go to a tournament or are in a competition and they lose 3-1 and you don't watch the game, you're upset. You're angry. That sounds terrible. They lost to, name a country, a reasonable mid-level country. They lost that game. It's terrible. A 3-1. What's the future of our program? We're not making any progress.
But yeah, there's two sides to that coin. Of course, you wanna coach and they don't really matter at all. But then again, when you have the competitive games and you win them, you will get more competitive games and not have the program sitting still. Like
it's a very difficult balance.
I'm sorry to say that the Canadian men's national team
it's a very difficult balance. Auntie, appreciate the phone call, man. Been a huge supporter of the show. Thank you so much. David, you're on the line. What's up?
Hey, Jason, how you doing?
I
just wanted. I'm sorry, I haven't heard any of the show up to this point.
Okay, all right. Well,
you said it's an emotional day. I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
All right, you go back and listen to the beginning of the show when you get, grab the podcast at some point and listen to the beginning of the show, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Right.
I was just going to say that last time I called in, it was hilarious. I challenged the callers to keep on calling in and blah blah blah. The next guy, literally after me, calls in to say how full of it I am. I love it. Don't have a beer with that guy. Anyway, but I just want to say, a bunch of people called in saying, hey, this David guy, saying he wishes that the U.S. had lost or something like that. I think people misunderstood what I said. All I was saying was that, soccer is such an interesting game compared to other games. You have to be really careful analyzing results.
Yeah.
And when I say results, I mean, we won 2-1.
Right.
Well, great.
Right.
But that only tells you one part of the story,
Sure.
Especially when you're dealing with friendlies where you don't know exactly what either team is doing going into that friendly in terms of the strategy and how they're going to approach it.
David, the only safe way to view it then is to throw the whole thing out completely and not even worry about it, and therefore a loss wouldn't matter either.
Absolutely.
Okay, so look, if you want to toss...
I just want to say there's times when the U.S. has lost where I was like, wow, we played a damn good game.
Absolutely.
Like Germany, 2002 quarterfinals.
Right.
I mean, the Germans were still better than us, and that's why they won the game.
Mm-hmm.
But we still played a very, very good game, but we lost, So, I mean, that's a game that matters, obviously. But I was just going to say about the most recent game, I'm very cautiously optimistic now. I mean, and the reason why is because I think what we've shown is that we can be tactically sort of flexible, I mean, there are times when it looked like a Christmas tree out there, the 4-3-2-1. There's times when it looked like a 4-2-3-1, times when it looked like a 4-3-3. I mean, we were shifting things around depending on, where the game was and where the ball was in terms of the field. So that's really encouraging. And then, we still have the 4-4-2 with the diamond midfield in our back pocket. So all that's really encouraging. And I can't say that I've ever seen that sort of flexibility from our team going into a World Cup. So that's really encouraging. Yeah.
I think that has been, thanks for the phone call, David. I think that has been one of Klinsmann's goals during this send-off series is to make this team tactically flexible, and they've shown that they're able to. And when Klinsmann says, you're missing the point if you pay attention to formations, I get what he's saying. I think he's maybe kind of, he's being a little churlish just because he's Klinsmann, but for the most part, he's right. 415, you're on the air.
This is Edward from Oakland, and calling up. I think Vince from Canada reminded me of something a moment ago. I'm American, but I lived in Toronto for a few years, and I was there during the 2006 World Cup, and was watching the U.S.-Italy game in a bar downtown. And I just, before all the craziness of the next few weeks unfolds, I just wanted to take a moment and say we are one of the 32 nations out of 200 in this world that have that ticket to the party.
Yes.
And that's an awesome thing.
It is.
I just, back to the thing at the bar in Toronto, I mean, on that day, I was the only American fan, I think, in the whole city. But I don't know. It's nice to be in the party.
It is. That's a little bit of perspective that I think we forget. Now, that is balanced out by those people who will tell you, and they have a point here, that in order for the United States to continue to get better and progress and maybe one day win the World Cup, then they need to be pressured and there need to be high expectations.
Absolutely.
So it's a balance. But again, when we talked to Andy Glockner last week, who had written about his experience of trying to find the score, not watch the game because it was so hard to find the game on television, but just to get the score of USA Trinidad in 1989. I do think that is it's important to remember that we're not that far removed from those times. We're really not.
Yeah, we've come a long way in a short time. Thanks for the call.
Appreciate the call. Thanks. Appreciate the call. Thanks a lot. Let's turn to Nick in Toledo. What's up, Nick?
What's up, Jason? How you doing?
I'm all right, Mick. I'm all right, man. A little unburdening, and you feel better about it sometimes.
Oh, I can't believe I heard what I heard this morning. I'm shocked. I mean, as you know, I'm a huge supporter, so I love what you do every day.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I really do.
Man, I'm crushed, and I'm sure there are a lot of fans out there that are crushed. I just wanted to go ahead.
Well, Trevor and I were talking about it this morning. Pull back the curtain a little bit. We were talking about it before we came on the air, sort of addressing, what this was going to be like when we sort of laid it out there. And I'm being honest. And again, to reiterate for anybody who's missed it, we're an hour in here, we're an hour and 15 minutes in, so I can sort of recap. More than likely, the show ends after the World Cup. Something very drastic will have to change between now and then. And I'm going to stop asking people to step up and support the show through that direct funding thing. That is, too many people have put in too much already that I feel like we've tapped everybody out, and it's just wrong to keep asking on the off chance we maybe scramble together a little tiny bit of money to maybe keep us going for another week. I mean, it is just difficult, and it's more about the marketplace than it is about you guys. And you guys have been fantastic, Nick, among them. And there was something else I was going to go into here, but I really can't remember what it was now. Nick, go ahead.
Well, being a fan of your show for the last couple of years, and you and I, we've had a chance to speak, and you have made me a better podcaster, and
appreciate that.
I just can't thank you enough for that. And I'm really bummed today, man, and I can't imagine what you're feeling. So I just wanted to call and send you my support.
Can we I love what
while
I have you on the air, Nick, and we're talking about this, just shout out to all the people who are happy that I'm going away, because those people exist, and hey, it's a good day for them. It's a really good day. Let's revel in their joy. I'm glad I made somebody happy today. For everybody who loves the show and is sad to see it go, yeah, it sucks. But the World Cup's coming. We're going to shift gears. Let's talk about being happy. There are some people out there who are happy Soccer Morning's going to go away. And I'll say this because you're on the air, Nick, and I know you're a podcaster. You know exactly where I'm coming from on this. I'm addicted to this. I am 100% a podcasting addict. I'm not going away. The show will go away, and I'll find something else, or we'll regroup, and something will happen in the future. I don't know if it'll be daily. I don't know what the focus will be. I don't even know if it'll be soccer. Maybe I'll find something else I like, Nick, and move on. I don't know. But I'll be around. Just that's all I'm saying. I'm personally not going anywhere.
Right. Well, I don't know what else to say other than I'm just bummed and again I wanted to say thank you and I appreciate everything that you've done and like I said you've made me a better podcaster.
I appreciate that.
I can't thank you enough.
All right, Nick. Well, before I let you go, you got to talk soccer. What are you thinking about this national team after that game against Nigeria?
I thought they
I'm thinking it went good.
thought they played really well. So I think they can get out of the group. I really do.
All right.
I think they can do it.
Let's keep that momentum going. Appreciate the phone call, Nick. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for your support. 605, you're on the air.
Hey, I'm really sad to see the show go. Loved it. Been watching it for a long time.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Also, though, with Josie scoring, do you think that makes him... I keep telling myself when he wasn't scoring, he's just a target forward. But now you're looking at he's more of a goal scorer now?
Well, I mean, those are simplistic ways to look at it. You know, at the very... no matter where Josie is scoring wise and where his goal scoring form is and his confidence is, he is an important part of the way the United States plays, no matter what setup they're using. Even if they're using a two-striker setup, even if he's not on an island by himself, even if there are requirements that he drift, he is an important part. And I had somebody argue with me today that he needs to sit down, that he still is not a starter for this team, or he's not playing on a level that determines him to be a starter for this team. And I just don't see it. I don't fathom any possibility that Klinsmann drops him. And if I'm picking the team, I'm always picking Josie Altidore. So it's about the work he puts in, which makes him, you know, like you said, a target forward, although he's more than that. But now if he adds the element of goal scoring, because to have, I mean, I love the first goal because of the team aspect. I love the second goal because it really took two players to make it happen. I mean, there was some connecting back further up the field, but Michael Bradley chips the ball 35 yards onto Josie Altidore's chest, and from there, it's a goal. I mean, that's all it really took, and that is an added element that I think is makes the United States more dangerous and gives me a little bit more hope.
Yeah, that second goal that was a burner. That was awesome.
You got anything else?
No, just want to shout out. I love the show. If people think it doesn't need to exist, go back and listen to the talk we had with the Icelandic president.
Yeah.
President. That was awesome.
It's a shot. Maybe after the World Cup, if we have any days, appreciate the phone call, man. Maybe after the World Cup. I don't know. It's probably not going to happen. I don't know that we can really do it. And talk about like navel gazing and self-referential stuff. I was going to say, maybe we review the best moments from this show in the history of the program. Maybe we can do that one day. I'll ask people for their best moments. Not everybody can pick the Icelandic president, though. The FA president. 208, you're on the air.
Hey, man, it's Luke.
Hey, Luke, what's up?
I'm in Denver.
Hey.
I just want to say that I've been getting into soccer for probably since the game that I was here. And
the Costa Rica game?
Show,
wait, the Costa Rica game? Wow, you're a newbie. Oh, I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I was kind of always I was always a huge World Cup fan.
Sure.
Before that, but not anything else besides that. And I just think that this, as well as the Best Like Soccer Show, have really helped me grow in my knowledge of the game.
Appreciate that.
And so I just want to say thank you, and I am positive you'll keep doing stuff within the sport because you're just extremely good at it. So
I appreciate that. I really do. Thanks a lot. I mean, thanks for the call. Denver is my brother's stomping grounds. So maybe one day he'll listen. I don't think he's ever listened to the show. My brother lives in Denver. He's not a soccer guy. Sometimes he'll text me a question. You know, maybe about the Landon Donovan thing, or maybe he'll ask about, this game or that game on a rare occasion. Maybe, you know what? I will say it's probably mean of me to say he's never watched the show. He probably has. He's just not one to talk to me about it. That's how it goes. Anything else, man?
Yeah. Just one really quick thing. I think this hybrid that we currently have with the men's team is in terms of style and play. Mm-hmm. I kind of have the feeling that it's been coming for a long time, and not to beat on his dead horse, but I think Landon Donovan not being a part of the team is one of those reasons why, because he kind of will hang back for a bit, then hit on that counter. Mm-hmm. He may not be built to do that possession style that's now a part of the team.
Okay. I could see that. I mean, he's certainly his history with the national team has been to be that the guy who starts the counterattack. I appreciate the phone call. I just think that that's results-based analysis. We are sort of taking what they've done since Donovan has been moved out and recreating a narrative that says they might be better without him. And I that's why I laid out the possibility that Portugal could both be worse off with Ronaldo or better off with Ronaldo, because you really don't know which way that's going to turn. Isaac in Pittsburgh, what's up, man?
Hey, Jason, I want to talk about these World Cup group of death injuries. And at first, I thought the reason with these string of injuries was because Eric Ronaldo was going out Charles Bronson in the Germany and Portugal locker room. but then I read a story that a Ghanaian witch doctor was claiming to have caused Cristiano Ronaldo's industry. Now, I'm religious and not to be too blasphemous, but I have to admit, a little part of me hopes that,
Isaac,
since he's in Central Florida and little Haiti's only a few hours away, maybe Jürgen Klinsmann sacrificed a few chickens or something. To cover
let's not. I don't want Santeria to be part of the national team setup. I'm just not really cool with that. I will say that I absolutely 100% need to get a hold of that witch doctor's agent, because that guy is doing work. Maybe he could save us. Maybe he could do something for us around here. Anybody got his number? I'm not sure where he's at. Anything else, Isaac?
Well, before the game, just really quickly, before the game, I'd never seen Matt Besler put in two poor performances in a row. And I was, hoping to see John Brooks start. But, I watched the tactical cam just to focus on the defense, specifically Matt Besler. Mm-hmm. And he did okay. I'm feeling better. If he starts, then I think he's got his groove back.
Okay. I don't know where my trust level is on Matt Besler right now. I really don't know. He's a good defender. He is a positionally aware, smart defender. He's not the best athlete, although you tend to let that go with center backs most of the time. I think he's strong enough, but can be outmuscled. I think that he's sometimes a step slow, but I think that's true of any of the center backs you put into this team. That's the weakness. That's why we are scared of these three teams in this group, because whether it's Gonzalez, Cameron, Besler, Brooks, it's either speed of thought for a young player like Brooks, or just flat out inability to have a quick enough first step for the other three players. And I think Matt Besler is a starter, but I can't tell you that I'm 100% sure he's going to be fine in this World Cup.
Yeah, and just to finish, I agree with your assessment of him, but it seemed like he and DeMarcus Beasley were on the same page, and that was reassuring.
Yes.
But hey, Jason, thanks for taking my call.
Appreciate it. Isaac in Pittsburgh, thanks a lot, man. Big supporter, been calling in for some time now. All right, phone lines are still open, 347-756-6276. They've slowed down a bit, 347-756-6276. It is World Cup week. The World Cup starts, and I was trying to do the math on the hours before the show. Like I was going to tweet out, we're only so many hours, but it's just too many. I couldn't. It was like 3 days and 7 hours and 10 minutes, and I guess I could have done the math. I just didn't. We're 72 hours and change away from the World Cup starting with Brazil and Croatia. And let me ask you this, and we'll finish out the show with this idea. What would you hope for outside of your own team? And whether that's the U.S. national team or Mexico or whoever, Italy, if your grandparents came over from Italy 100 years ago, whoever. Outside of your team and being hopeful about your team's chances, what do you want from this World Cup? Would it make you happier to see Brazil go on and win it and fulfill that destiny and be the team that lifts the spirits of the people of Brazil who have been through so much over the past 7 years as this tournament ramped up? Or do you want chaos? Are you the type of person that, look, if Croatia can get a result against Brazil in that first game, man, wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be wouldn't that set us up for a fantastically interesting World Cup? I think I'm rooting for chaos. Now, chaos could absolutely benefit my team, the U.S. national team, but I want chaos in general. I want chaos even outside of Group G. I want chaos where shocking teams make it to the quarterfinals, because as great as the World Cup can be, and as fantastic as the tournament is, even for the teams that really don't have a realistic shot of winning, and let's be honest, Jurgen Klinsmann's right. Whether he should have said it is a different question. But Jurgen Klinsmann's right. The United States isn't good enough to win the World Cup. I think we can recognize that in ourselves. Now you don't think about it. You go down there and you play your best, and you hope that history turns over. Somehow you shock everybody. But that's kind of the point. The World Cup doesn't give us those sort of shocking runs. Not really. I mean, you had, Uruguay makes the semifinals in 2010, and that's kind of a surprise, but they're still a traditionally successful team. Maybe they haven't been on the top echelon over the past 40 years, but they've obviously been successful in the past. They obviously have top talent like Luis Suarez, like Diego Forlan. So you never really thought it was beyond them. But I mean, what could be who could be the most shocking semifinals? I suppose that the most shocking semifinalist in this tournament is somebody like Australia, right? And again, I feel like I pick on the Aussies. I'm really not trying to pick on the Aussies. They are a long shot. Where are the World Cup odds? Give me the World Cup odds, because I need to look at the World Cup odds and pick out the long, because that's what I want. I don't think it's going to happen. By the way, I just missed a phone call. I'm not sure who that was. Call back 347-756-6276. We got a couple minutes left. Happy to take your phone calls on whatever's going on here. All right, let's see. A lot of people are picking Chile to surprise a little bit. Ecuador maybe to surprise those teams. Ecuador's 125-1 to win. It's a long shot, not the longest shot. Greece is 200-1. Maybe a Greek. I'm intrigued by the Greeks. Maybe a Greek semifinal run would be fantastic. Maybe Bosnia in their first World Cup. Maybe that would be fun. Byron's on the line. What's up, Byron?
Hey, what's up, Jason? I just wanted to say, I'm a little sad.
Yeah.
But, thanks. I mean, it was a great run. And you've helped a lot of people, and,
I appreciate that.
Mornings. It was a great show.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm my eye is being drawn to the Soccer Morning feed at Soccer Morning on Twitter. And like I said, there are certainly people who are happy to see this show go away. It's going to happen, but we've been much more. It's been much more about support, and I really do appreciate it, Byron. You got anything else, man? What are you looking forward to in this World Cup?
Sadly, since Donovan got left off, I became 100% realistic, and I think we come back from Brazil after 3 games.
Okay, but do you think they get 0 points?
Yes.
All right. I've had a phone call that says 7 points, and I have a phone call that says 0 points, and that's the spectrum we're dealing with here. Appreciate the phone call, Byron. Thanks a lot, man.
All right, thank you.
408, you're on the air. Who's this? 408.
Hey, Jason, this is Matt from California.
Hey, Matt, what's going on, man?
Hey, first things first, I just want to thank you. I've been abroad for the last couple of years, just got back in December, and your show has been instrumental or critical in me getting back into MLS. So
I appreciate
thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
And I just want to say, the only thing I want out of this World Cup, apart from the U.S. winning it all, is I want Luis Suarez to score the winning goal in the final against Brazil.
Oh, that would be... Wow, that would Brazil burn after that? I don't. That would
chaos,
be
man.
That would be the type of chaos. Like, I want chaos on the. Thanks for the call, man. I gotta get out of here, but
yeah.
I want chaos on the field. I don't know if I want chaos that might trickle over. I don't know how the people in Brazil would respond to that. They're already upset enough, and rightfully so. And we will continue to monitor that situation. And there is right now in Sao Paulo, there's a transit strike. So let's keep our eyes on all of this stuff. Let's not just focus on the fact that FIFA is corrupt and this World Cup is around the corner. We're going to keep our eyes. I mean, here's a piece from businessinsurance.com. Civil unrest in Brazil highlights World Cup's numerous insurance risks. Billions in limits placed to cover tournaments risk. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we're going to get now. This is what FIFA has turned the World Cup into. This is what the Brazilian government has turned this World Cup into. A troubling event in a country that loves the sport, that is conflicted. Now we're all conflicted. We're all conflicted. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, FIFA. I appreciate it. As John Oliver said, He said it best.
Telling someone about the inner workings of FIFA for the first time is a bit like showing someone 2 Girls, 1 Cup. You do it mainly so you can watch the horrified expression on people's faces.
There it is. And that's going to do it for Soccer Morning on a Monday. Thanks a lot to everybody that listened. Thank you all for your kind words. We're going to push that to the side, okay? We're done with that. We are done. We are done imploring you to do things on behalf of the show. We are, and I suppose if it is absolutely crucial that you call in and thank us for doing the show, thank me, whatever. I'm not going to stop you. It's a free country. But let's try to talk about the soccer. Let's try to move on. Let's try to be about this World Cup because we are here. We're going to be here. I'm very excited. All kicks off on Thursday. The time is short between now and the World Cup starting. Let's do it all. Let's do it up. Let's have a good time. Should we finish out with Bosnia's song, Portugal's song, or Colombia's song? Trevor, what do you think? Which one? Bosnia, first World Cup, excuse me, as Bosnia. All right, there we go. Thanks a lot for listening. NASN.TV. Go find the show. iTunes, all of that stuff. For as long as we're here, we will be around, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. There you go. Here we go. Bosnia. See ya.
Mnogi ne žele za vas nastupati.